This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Let's talk about some other news and notes as we head in here. Shane McMahon comes back to the company. I don't think a lot of people probably would have guessed that that was going to happen. He left the company under his own power and terms, and now he's going to come back here and ultimately wind up in a Hell in a Cell match with the Undertaker. Were you surprised to see Shane start coming around again?
Well, you know, I always like Shane. Shane's a breath of fresh air because he's always so upbeat and so positive, and you know, he's just he's a big kid. He's the biggest, strongest 12-year-old you'll ever meet. And him being back, just it kind of lended a little bit of excitement to the locker room area, and when everybody is, you know, in a good mood and all pulling the wagon the same direction, it just was a breath of fresh air, I think.
One of the big things that's pushed here is the whole Undertaker Shane match, where there's a stipulation where if Shane wins, he gets control of Raw, and if Undertaker can never wrestle again at WrestleMania. It doesn't really feel like there's much follow-up with that. Any feedback as to why? Are we just doing too much here that creative, you know, thinks, oh, we'll just throw that together and that'll be a cool, I don't know. It just feels like there's no continuity. There's no follow-up on a major show like this with major steps, and it doesn't seem to go anywhere.
Well, I went back and I rethought this on the outside looking in. And of course, the match, you know, has some iconic moments in it, obviously. One big one for sure. But the story going into this thing was you have had the authority running roughshod over the company and stepping on everybody's neck. Shane walks back in the door and says it's going to be a brighter day. We're going to get some, you know, I know that our fans are not happy with a lot of things, including creative and da-da-da-da. You know, I want to fix all those things. So he is the knight in shining armor. Did you ever have a fleeting thought, because, you know, you're a very, very smart guy, Conrad, that, wait a minute now, Shane is wanting to make the company better, give us some of the things we as fans think should change, but the one stepping in his way and standing in his way is the Undertaker.
Right.
That's a huge negative, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
Would he have been perceived the bad guy in all of this? They're talking about the Undertaker.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I didn't really think about it in the context of that. So yeah, in a traditional quote unquote heel versus baby face, that didn't really make much sense.
So he's defending his place on WrestleMania. That's one of the steps, right? If he loses, he can never wrestle on WrestleMania again.
Right.
Well, you're going to buy that?
No.
Unrealistic, right? So that was just a Broadway Hail Mary that you didn't need. But the fact, you know, that and again, I'm trying to think about this sitting at home, reliving this story. So if you don't look at Undertaker as the bad guy, you just look at a guy that's trying to defend his place at WrestleMania. Okay, I get it, but I don't think in 1,000 years that Shane is going to come back and beat the Undertaker. It is implausible, unbelievable, and just no way, no how it's going to happen. I just think that to put him in Hell in the Cell, and which is a very difficult match because, you know, there's nowhere to go. It just felt like a lot of stuff was done that probably didn't need to be done for that particular match. Here's a guy that comes back after how many years, and he's going to be in enough shape or can get himself in enough shape to fight the Undertaker in Hell in the Cell and prevail. No chance.
Next up, we get the Undertaker and Shane McMahon in a Hell in a Cell match. I love that Shane got to do the entrance with his kids. You could tell it meant a lot to the whole McMahon family. Of course, the Undertaker's in his domain in the Hell in a Cell match. They get plenty of time, 30 minutes. Meltzer Well, he hated it. He says, the work in the match was pretty bad. Undertaker looked out of shape. Shane looked in shape, and he can do cool things and move great for his age. Considering his level of training and the ring time, he did really well, but that's really not an excuse to go 30 minutes. So he's pretty critical of it. We know that this is all set up for, and people were even joking ahead of time, hey, Shane's just looking to jump off of something. He's going to jump off the damn scoreboard over the 50-yard line. Instead, it is a big bump off the Hell in a Cell through a table. They added some safety elements to that, some magic, if you will. But when it's all said and done, Undertaker hits the Tombstone Piledriver and pins him. Meltzer would say it went way too long, and the first 25 minutes were bad, except for the gimmick spots. 2.5 stars. This has to be a nightmare if you're an agent. I didn't ask if you were an agent for this match. I'd love to hear who was, but you've got the Undertaker. Nobody's going to tell him what to do. And you've got Shane McMahon. Nobody's going to tell him what to do. So, hey, what do you guys want to do? And then now we're going to do that. But it's probably hard to go to either one of these guys and say, no, can't do that. Got to do this. Right.
Well, yeah, you look like a fool if you did.
Right.
They pretty much had carte blanche, and it was, Michael Hayes' production, I'm sure. Be honest with you, even though it wouldn't be my responsibility or my fault, I would feel like it was. If something happened to Shane on that descent from the top of the cage and he did get hurt bad, I would feel responsible being the agent sitting in the chair, even though that's ridiculous. It's just the danger involved in that. I don't think they understand what he did that night.
Right.
What Mick Foley did when he went off the top of that cage. If you're a wrestling fan and you're looking to idolize somebody for doing something special for you as a fan, it's those two guys, because you wouldn't have got me up there for any amount of money. It is literally a stunt that is Hollywood worthy of any action thriller you've ever seen, but it's real. It's a hell of a bump. And the fact that they had gimmicked the table a little bit so that it would, blow up properly and all that. Okay. Well, it's not like there was a rehearsal for this.
Yeah. How about this? You still got to have sack enough to climb up there and jump off.
Yeah.
And it ain't like Arn Anderson or Conrad Thompson are doing that shit. So kudos to him.
You're damn right. And, for what they did for the company, what they did for the business, and for the fans, my hat will eternally be off to those guys, because it is way beyond. My only thing is, and I'm just begging, once that happens, drag the guy in the ring and just cover him.
I agree.
Don't do a move. Don't do a wrestling move. Anything you're going to do, as iconic as the Tombstone is, do you really need it?
Right.
At least make some sense out of that. And I thought the match, it being the Undertaker, Shane being a part-time guy, not really recognized as a full-time wrestler and just coming back, I think it was probably too competitive for too long. It could have been way, way, way shorter. Undertaker would have been proving a point, in this match. It just felt like it went. Shane shouldn't be able to compete with the Undertaker for that length of time. If you're looking at what's acceptable as a wrestling character, if you know what I'm saying.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.